why many of us fear death and why we shouldn't fear death and how we can overcome that fear of death. I feel like this is a really important topic right now with what's happening in the world, guys, with this corona pandemic going on. The fear of death has become incredibly evident and is the root of why so many people are reacting from fear, and how that fear is driving a lot of people in a negative way and really impacting the psychology of everything. And so I know this is like really raw, I'm doing this live here, but I just really wanted to grab the tarot here and get some psychic messages, but also just share with you some insights that have been downloaded to me. And I think they're really powerful. Some questions to ask yourself, and then how to really uncover the solution to those questions. So, first thing I have written down here for all of us is, sometimes this fear of death that many of us have comes from a place of fearing that you have failed in serving your purpose in some way. Fearing that you have failed in serving your purpose in some way. Hang on one second. Ugh. Oh gosh. I dropped one of the cards down here. First card coming out here. Whoop. King of Pentacles. Okay. Second point here is a lot of people fear the unseen. What's unclear, what's unclear with the path of death. Where's the manual that instructs us on how to walk the path of death? Sorry, we just had a blip here, but I'm back. But stepping into that chapter, it's unfamiliar. It's very spiritual. Will send you somewhere terrible, whatever that means, whatever religion or spirituality you practice. And lastly, number 4, maybe you don't have enough spiritual reassurance, maybe lacking. So then, how do we fix this? How do we become more comfortable with death, with the transformation that death gives us? With leaving the earth, leaving our loved ones, because it's an uncomfortable subject, but, let's face it, death eventually takes all of us. And so I think it's just, like I said in the beginning here, very important to address some of these fears around death. I think all of us could use a little bit more fearlessness within ourselves. So, points here that I've brought up with you. So number 1, the fear of some way. Well, start living your purpose. Meditate. Ask yourself, what is your purpose? Are you a truth bringer? Are you a messenger? Are you a healer? Are you a protector? Start living that purpose if you have not been now. If you have been, great. Make sure you're being fully present and in the moment, living that purpose. Taking the steps, making videos like this, writing blogs, doing the physical work, whatever that means for you, so that you are living your purpose, so that you have no regrets there. And I feel like that first point really comes up with the King of Pentacles here, this first card popping out. King of Pentacles is fully confident and mature in what he's established, in the world, what he has physically brought to the table for himself, for other people, the establishments that he's created, the legacy that he's created. There are real tangible things that the King of Pentacles has created, and he's proud of them. And those things are things that are structures, are things in place that last. So do that. So back to point number 2, the fear of unseen, the unclear path of death. Us humans, we are many of us, I should say, not all of us, of course, but many of us are very uncomfortable with the unseen and with change, right? So, overcoming that fear means put yourself in scenarios. Test yourself, initiate yourself, put yourself in scenarios that challenge the unseen, the uncertain. Now, a lot of us, we have no choice right now with this coronavirus pandemic. And so a lot of us are having to learn that right now. And take comfort, we're all in this together. Some of us, we have more experience than others. And that's one reason why I'm here, sharing some of these points with you. Personally, let me just pause here for a second and talk about some of my personal experiences, because some of you might be like, well, this guy, Joshua Lionlight here, is young. He doesn't really know what he's talking about. What has he experienced when it comes to trauma and death? Well, let me tell you. I've experienced the loss of a good friend at a young age. I've experienced the loss of close family members, some of which died due to suicide, some of which died due to illness, some of which died due to murder. I've experienced the sickness of pneumonia myself and near death myself. I've experienced traumas in the past that have to do with abuse, physical, emotional, sexual abuse. Me and my siblings were kidnapped when we were younger. So just so you have an idea, I'm not ignorant to this topic, and I completely understand. And this is why I want to talk to you guys. So back to number 2, the point of the fear of the unseen, of things being unclear, the path of death being an uncertain and unclear path. Challenge yourself now. Challenge yourself now to put yourself in scenarios. Go to certain places that you've never been to before. Try different experiences. Try putting yourself out there, whether, it's doing a video, writing a blog, coming from a very personal place. Try doing some of those things, putting yourself out there in ways that you have never done before. And that will help you and build you up, help train yourself, help train your mind in becoming a little bit more flexible and fluid with the unseen path of death, of life itself. When life throws you curveballs, train yourself in those ways. Even as simple as watching a different genre and topic of film, that you have never seen before. Try watching or learning something that made you uncomfortable or just made you question things in the past. That also will help you in overcoming that fear of the unseen and uncertain. Number 3. Oh, okay, next card out. Hang on one second. Another jumper. Okay, next card out we have here is the Death card. Or, I'm sorry, what? The Devil card. Close. The Devil card. Capricorn energy, Saturn energy, these charts that have come out so far is real. Let's just look at that for a second. Okay, Saturn is known as the Great Malefic. And so with this, the devil most definitely, guys, brings out our deepest fears, where we're strapping ourselves and holding ourselves back right now. You know, oh, sorry, another blip. I'm back. This live thing sometimes. Anyways, reconnected. But with the devil card, it is asking us, you know, how are we binding ourselves? How are we caging ourselves psychically? How are we allowing ourselves to be caged, be controlled right now through the fear that is coming from this corona pandemic? You know, and it's bringing up those internal questions of the mistakes you made in life, and will those mistakes send your soul to some terrible place, whatever you believe spiritually, whatever that means for you. So the devil card is saying, you know, the solution with that thought process is, how can you deal with this fear? Let's see here. Let's see what the tarot has to say about that as well. Let's let a card pop out with that. Whoa, okay. The Star card. So if you're fearing, you know, the mistakes, subconscious mistakes, you know, whether you fully are aware of it or want to admit to it right now, if you fear those mistakes in life sending you to a terrible place, and that's why you fear death, part of the solution is forgiveness. You know, you have the time and opportunity right now to heal yourself, heal those wounds, heal those mistakes. Sure, of course, our mistakes always leave ripples, they always leave scars, you know, with us, with other people, but you have time. So the solution for you is quite simple. You know, if there's an apology you need to make to someone, make that apology. If you want to right a wrong in some way, you know, at least try your best by making a gesture, changing some habits, changing your career path, changing your spiritual path, or simply, you know, just showing more compassion. 10 of Cups, showing more compassion and love. You know, just making the apology, just making the gesture, just opening your heart up. You know, some people overthink apologies and they think, oh, well, if I, you know, it's been months or it's been years even since that mistake I made. And, you know, what's the point? What's the point in trying to right that now? Will it even make a difference? I feel like the energy definitely says here, it does. It can make a difference. If anything, it makes an internal difference and creates a positive internal shift within you. And by doing all that, and having the courage to face all of that, that subconscious fear that might be lingering around mistakes, and that might send your soul to a terrible place when you die, you resolve that. That will resolve that fear within you. 5 of Cups is the other card that just popped out here. I feel like the 5 of Cups here is saying, inviting you to simply accept that there have been mistakes that you've made, that there's been some unfortunate things said between you, between others. Just accept the situation that you're in right now and what has been. It's okay to let go, and it's okay to just simply accept it. Why hold on to it? That's where we get ourselves in trouble. Why hold on to it? You can make a gesture now. You can allow yourself to just feel, emote, and grieve. That's the other side to this, I feel like, for a lot of people watching Five of Cups, is you can allow yourself to grieve. And that's part of embracing that fear and overcoming that fear of death with that point number 3. So back to point number 4, that fear of not having enough spiritual assurance, not being firm, or having enough faith in your spiritual path, in your spirit guides. The confidence lacking there. So, how to overcome that particular fear, if that's your fear related to death. It might require a shift in spiritual thinking, in your spiritual path. Is the spiritual beliefs, is the spiritual belief system that you're in now serving you, or has it got you pinned down? Like with the devil card here. It's time to move to higher states, and that's what the major arcana cards are saying, guys, by the way, in this spread so far. The major arcana is the devil and the star card here. Okay, this is Saturn and this is Uranus energy. Everything that we're going through, that we're breaking away from, with the economy even breaking down right now, it's setting us up to move to a higher elevation, elevating our minds, higher state of thinking, a greater awakening. And that does have to do, when we move to a greater awakening, it's learning to embrace uncomfortable things and topics like death. And so now might be a good time to, through meditation, through a salt bath or a bubble bath, asking your spirit guides to meet you, to greet you, to show you a sign now, to really get acquainted with them. Other ways in which you can help resolve number 4 here is just simply speaking some mantras of confidence. Saying, I am confident with my spirit guides, and that my spirit guides will lead me down whatever path, the unseen, the unknown path of life, the unseen, the unknown path of death, that my spirit guides will support me, walking through that doorway, through transforming whenever my time has come. Because eventually, our time does come. And so, some other things you can do to kind of get your spirit right if you feel like your spirit isn't ready for that uncomfortable topic of death, is simple experience. experiencing it. And also just simply talking about it with someone else, with a spiritual leader. As simple as that. But let's see what the tarot has to say. I feel like, whoop, there it is. A card wants to pop out about it. Okay, interesting. King of Swords. Let me just think on this for a second here. Look at the King of Swords and just let it seep in. I feel like there's a message here saying, number one, to really connect with your star power, what your star sign is, what your star sign means, and that giving you clarity. And also simply connecting with the earth. I feel like the elements of earth and air are definitely coming across strong here. And we have two kings that have popped out. You know, the Earth King and the Air King here. So connecting with the elements of earth and the element of air, you know, feeling your breath in the lungs, going outside, feeling that breeze, walking barefoot on the earth, allowing those negative electrons, ions, I forget what they're called, to come up through your feet, help stabilize your body and therefore your spirit. And also just working with plant life. I feel like those are some things that can really help all of us, you watching as a collective, and really tapping into that spiritual reassurance. And it's about getting a little bit more accustomed and acquainted with the spiritual veil. I do believe in some ways the King of Swords is the guardian of that spiritual veil. You know, personally for me, as a psychic, I've definitely, you know, as a tarot reader, as a psychic reader, empath, all that stuff, I've become way more comfortable and confident with the idea and subject of death. And I've seen it pop up a lot. You know, part of that could be, yes, I've had the experience of death in my life, you know, friends and family. So that is part of it. But guys, there's something here about really tapping into cosmic knowledge, cosmic mystery. And I do feel like another thing that could really help you out in this area, give you more of that resolve with point number 4, is also taking walks at twilight. Because twilight is a very magical, transitional time of day. And it's very symbolic of life and death, you know, because daylight goes away and nightlife comes. You know, day dies, night is born. So simply tapping into the energy of twilight can be useful and really sort of connecting you to that other side and to what death really means. You know, death is a transition, it's a transformation, it's a energetic adventure. At least that's part of my interpretation. Hang on, I had a card pop out. Ugh. Nice. Strength popping out. I love this a lot for all of us. Strength, it's the card here of courage. It takes courage. In fact, looking at my notes here, that's something I wanted to bring up. It takes courage to address all these points of fear that surround death and accepting death as a natural part of life. It will require you to exercise courage. And courage is uncomfortable. I mean, it throws your nervous system for a loop. That's for sure. There have been so many points in my life through the traumas I've experienced, whether it's been the loss of a loved one, whether it's been abuse, domestic abuse, physical assault, you name it. It's uncomfortable. I mean, stuff like this, guys, with what's going on with the collective here with this pandemic, it is a big test of courage, and it's simply not easy. The strength card is not about things being just simple and easy. It does require strength, but let me tell you guys, when you really show up, and I mean, you can literally, I find it empowering to speak this stuff out loud. You know, you speak to whatever your fear of death is here, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or if there's another fear that I did not bring up, you know, whatever it is. When you simply speak to that fear of death out loud, I also like to do it by candlelight. It can be so empowering. When you finally speak and you say, I do not fear you. My courage, my inner strength, my light, my words, my willpower is stronger than my fear of death, than my fear of loss. There are so many things in this world, guys, that create loss, that are the causes of death. And a lot of those numbers are even higher than the corona cases. There's actually a lot more recoveries from the corona. But I'm not going to really get into those statistics and stuff right now because I want to just focus on the psychic and the spiritual. The point is, once you establish whether this fear of death is coming from a place of that fear of not serving your purpose in life, feeling like there's still something you have to, give, something you have to complete, some purpose you still have yet to fulfill, whether it's just that fear of the unseen, of moving, transition, that spiritual ascension. And guys, that is the beautiful thing I believe about death. It's spiritual ascension. Your soul, your energy, it doesn't die. Like even physics, science has even proven that. Energy doesn't die. It continues to echo on. Now, I don't expect everyone to necessarily believe in like reincarnation and everything, but that is something more and more proven. And so it is about a journey of ascension. And I think that's a beautiful thing to take comfort in. But whether it's the mistakes, you fear that the mistakes you've made in your life are just so terrible, they're going to send you somewhere terrible, or you haven't had enough time to, right your wrongs and ask forgiveness from yourself, from others. You have the opportunity now in the present to do that. And this is asking you to live every moment by moment, fully. And of course, that last point I brought up, maybe there's just not enough spiritual reassurance. You can ask your guides to give you spiritual assurance. You can find that spiritual assurance if you don't have the confidence that your spirit guides will walk you through this process. Then you can ask them. That's an internal process. Have them meet you through your dreams. Or like I said, of course, through meditation, through a bath, which I find extremely helpful. But there you have it, guys. I think that's essentially all the points I wanted to bring up. However, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle out one more tarot message. And thank you so much, Jenny. I really appreciate you saying that. I do my best. I do my best. Courage, light, and compassion are the way out, guys. Courage, light, and compassion. I do personally believe, just for myself, as a national psychic, as, just a human being, I believe that the biggest enemy due to this pandemic, revolving around this pandemic, is fear. That is the biggest enemy. And so let's see what the final message is here from the tarot in regards to how we collectively can handle this fear, can overcome this fear. Woo! Here we go. I actually caught that one. Ooh, another major arcana card, the Empress. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but Venus has been shining brightly in the sky over the last, oh my goodness, several weeks, at least 3 weeks now or longer. Venus is showing up very predominantly in this card. So collectively, the end message for all of us working together to overcome this fear surrounding this pandemic. It has to do with embracing new doorways, new gateways, opening from this. And as cheesy as it sounds, the Empress is saying that handling things with compassion, handling things with compassion, yet strength. Sometimes those things can be a little blunt, very harsh, during these times with the passion, with the truths coming out. But there is a balance here with that and doing it with compassion. We are fully capable of doing that. There's a message here too with the Empress of focusing on your own inner power, focusing on your individual state of feeling, and then confiding in the collective, with your neighbor, confiding with people right now. There hasn't necessarily been enough transparency through the media. That much is evident. And we see that more and more with independent journalists and storytellers coming out with things. But you can be transparent right now with your feelings, with your findings, whatever that means. And that is going to raise the collective and help resolve this fear surrounding death. It's funny because the Empress really is the opposite of death. She's actually the bringer of life. She's pregnant here, actually. But I feel like there is a message with the Empress saying, where there is death, there is always a new life. And that doesn't necessarily mean people dying, although yes, that is part of it. But it's also talking about stuff with the economy, with our work path, our career path, our personal relationships and those connections. Letting some of those end so that new ones can be birthed in. And that's going to help us resolve the fear right now too. There's a big message here of creating new from all of this. And there's a message here, when it comes to that fear of death, I feel like for some of you watching here too, speaking to death as a friend. Speaking to death as if death was a person. Trying to, I suppose, shifting your perspective about it a little bit, right? But try speaking to death as if death is a friend. And just have a casual conversation. Have a casual dialogue. You can do this by journaling, writing it down, or just doing it out loud. Also, part of the solution for coping through this fear right now, not only is, again, I want to throw courage out there. Courage is so big. But the courage to create something positive out of this. Like, even if you feel it's offensive, creating right now, crafting, whatever crafting means for you right now, is one way through this and may somehow help give you more of that peace when it comes to the topic of death. It's just a new gateway to higher ascension, to a different realm. Think of death almost as a portal. I feel like that wants to come through, especially with the star being down here as well. It's a portal. And like I said, this fear of death, of course, it isn't just about our physical bodies dying and us leaving the earth. It's about the death of the economy. It's about the death of what we've been used to, how we've been programmed. But I do believe, too, with these cards, because most of these cards are just beautiful, y'all. And especially with the Ten of Cups down here, too. It's just a message of being fulfilled and being happy with what's to come next. So anyways, guys, I do believe that's where I'm going to leave it. Remember, courage, light, love, that's the way out. And that's going to bring us peace. And let me know, I mean, if you have any other tips that I missed, that I didn't cover, you know, in this video with those 4 points, with those 4 fears and overcoming them, you know, leave it in the comments. Throw a comment below and let me know your suggestions. And everyone else on this platform, you know, we're like a support group, okay? We're a support group here. So there you have it. I hope that this helps you. And if these are some of the fears that you have around death, that identifying it and then taking those actions, like I suggested, making those changes and taking those steps, I hope that that will indeed just fully awaken you, you know, awaken you more than ever before. And I do believe that these steps that have come through this video, this very raw reading and video, can truly give you some peace about this and help you and all of us as a collective ascend. So cheers to ascending, and cheers to overcoming our fear with courage. You have courage. Even if it's hard to find, you have it. Promise. All right, take care, y'all.